have just entered the world of the Roberts 848X, an 8-track player unlike anything I have ever seen on the face of this earth, and more than likely something you guys have not seen before either. And so the reason for this video. Well, when I saw this at the local antique mall, I was very intrigued. For example, why would an 8-track player have a play, stop, and record button? Well, more specifically, a play button? I mean, don't most 8-track players just play when you insert the tape? And then this was also peculiar. Why is there a window at the top? There's also a tape counter inside this little window. Why would they put the tape counter inside here? So again, these things were peculiar, but even more peculiar, what is going on with the tape mechanism when you hit play? What is that little lever in there doing? I see the capstan there on the right, but the playhead, it should be parked there in the front to meet the tape once it's inserted, right? Oh no, not with the Roberts 848X. This machine intends to break all the rules of 8-tracking. And I'm going to show you just how insane it is. So, and that's no exaggeration, it's pretty insane. So, you know how when you buy 8-track tapes, they have a tendency to have bad pressure pads in them and they have to be replaced? Like this one here, I've replaced it with a different pad than the one that came with it. This is Queen, A Night at the Opera. In this case, this machine does not need pads. No, because where we're going, we don't need pads. All we need is tape. This machine loads the tape from the cartridge as if it were a VCR tape. So it's got some little grabbers that come out and grab the tape and yank it inside to a little mechanism that you see here. So let me demonstrate that. I've got a little video that I shot looking into the tape well so you can see that little grabber or little jaws of death in action. Now let's go over some of the features of this amazing 8-track deck, and then I'll explain what was going on at the beginning of this video, in case you were wondering. So the standard features of this 8-track deck are pretty standard. Now this one happens to have a built-in amplifier, but on the front we have the program selector here, so that is your track changer from 1 to 4, which are indicated by those 4 lights. You have 2 1/4-inch jack mic inputs here on the left. You have a normal and then auto stop feature. So once this reaches the end of track 4 and switches back to track 1, the machine will shut off. We have a pause control of start and stop here. Over here on the right, we have our volume controls. So volume as well as tone on the outside ring of these volume controls. And of course, we have a record feature. So by pressing play and record at the same time, the unit will go into record mode. And that's pretty much the end of the normalcy of this machine. So on the back of the unit here, starting at the lower left, we have a remote control input. I would imagine that remote control would just give you the ability to pause and play. You know, just pause the listening and continue at your leisure. There is a fuse right here, and strangely enough, there's another fuse on the bottom. You have a headphone jack, 1/4-inch right there. Over to the right side here, we have a DIN, input and output for audio. We have a line out, a line in with RCA jacks. Your auxiliary and normal switches here. So if you connect something to the machine to record, say a radio tuner, you would put it on auxiliary and then you would be monitoring that particular input through the speaker output, which is right here. You have an 8-ohm speaker output jack here, and those once again are 1/4-inch jacks. Over to the right, there are some little holes here, and I believe that's for some little potentiometers that are inside the unit there to do some tweaking, say with perhaps the meters on the front, or just audio balancing with output and input. Okay. On the bottom of the unit, you have a 50 and 60 cycle switch. So depending upon which country you happen to be in, you can switch to 50 or 60 megahertz or 50 or 60 cycles per second. Another fuse right here inside this little turn screw here. And underneath this particular panel is a voltage selector. So we can go from 100 volts, say in Japan, to 200 volts, I believe they use in the UK, 220, 240, and the unit will accommodate all of those voltages and megahertz. And now with our top cover removed, we can get into the internal workings of this machine. We saw some of them at the beginning of this, the flywheel as well as the belt. Here is the top part of that motor, which I believe would be powerful enough to dry your clothes in a clothes dryer. Well, maybe not quite, but pretty close. That is a big motor. Behind it is the power transformer that we saw the voltages for. And then on the side here, you'll notice this side panel here is real wood. It is real in the sense that it's not like particle board. And then they have it ported so that heat can dissipate through the sides and out the tops of these vents. So these little side silver vents are actually serving the purpose of allowing heat to dissipate. So there's one on each side. Beyond that, we have the internal amplifications and those circuitries there, the preamps as well as the recording amps and so forth. And then getting down here into where like the capstan lives, which is right here. And then those funky head systems that we saw there at the beginning. Again, hitting play here so you can see that coming through. Now, you may be wondering why we did all that stuff at the beginning, and some of you who work on these machines might have had an idea of what I was doing. But I was experiencing a lot of wow and flutter with this machine. So I did replace the belt, and I have a package here to show you. So this is the belt that I put in it, made by this particular company, MCM Electronics. So that belt is now driving the machine, very much like the old belt, which was really loose. If it was so loose, it would just fall off. Replacement of the belt didn't exactly cure the wow and flutter problem I was having. It seems to have helped, though. Another thing I had to do was I had to adjust the height of this head. So by turning these little screws and particular dials right here on top of the audio head, which is here, this is your record, or it may in fact just be the erase head on this side. But that was the other thing I had to do, and then I had to do some lubrication of this particular shaft inside of here. But so what is going on here? What are they doing with this? So my guess is at the time there was no way to make an audio head that would both record and play, or perhaps record, play, and erase. So either this is your erase head or it's your record head. I am not sure. But once you hit record, it does go into place. So let's say I've got it in play here, and I hit record, you'll see that one pop into place right there, right on top of the other one. Now, the tape itself wraps around this roller right here. So it goes into the shell of the cassette, of the tape, and pulls it out, and it's running right there in front of that head. So let's see that in action. So I'm going to insert one of my favorite cartridges, Somewhere My Love by the Fascinating Strings. So I'm going to push that cartridge in, and what immediately happens is that the tape begins to move. So even though I'm not listening, I have not hit play, the tape is already being pulled across at least the sensor that senses the next track and the capstan. So I'm going to go ahead and hit my start button and watch as the magic happens. It pulls the tape out of the cartridge and lets it sit in front of the audio head. Did you see that occurring right there? So that is what is going on. And then by hitting record, this head pops into play, and now the tape is running over both that head on the left, be it a recording head or a erase head, and the playback head, again, simultaneously. Very, very interesting design. It's like, what in the world were they thinking? So now let's kind of demonstrate what it sounds like. For audio playback, at least for our first demonstration, we're going to use this TronSmart Bluetooth speaker, which I demonstrated in a previous video. And you guys may think I'm crazy for bringing this up again, but this speaker sounds fantastic, and you'll get to hear some of that. But to connect it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and connect the left and right RCA plugs to the back of the unit here. And then I'm going to take the 3.5 millimeter plug and put it into the back of the speaker, somewhere back there. Okay. And then all I do is flip the switch on the back side, And that comes on. Okay. And I'm not going to actually use Somewhere My Love to demonstrate. Let's go crazy and do a little bit of disco. The best songs of the year, 1978. Go ahead and insert my cartridge. And I'm going to go ahead and press play. I said start earlier, but it's actually play. The tape gets pulled out. And off we go. I think. There we go. And how about pause? There's pause. And now start.
I never want to work that hard. We smile and smile, and there go on my defenses.
All right, and then when I hit stop, you can see it continues to turn, which pulls the tape back inside. And once I take it out, there it is. And look, there is no pad on this tape at all. None. And it sounded fantastic. How is that even possible? It's possible because the tape is actually strapped around the head instead of being pushed onto it by a pressure roller or a pressure pad. All right, so now let's see what it sounds like running directly into the camera so you can really get an idea of the audio quality of this machine. So as you heard, the sound quality on this machine really isn't that bad. And unfortunately, it makes obsolete this little cassette to 8-track adapter that I have here is made by Kraco. The reason it makes it obsolete is the fact that this little emitter right here, that's almost like an audio head, has to make complete contact, direct contact, with the audio head. And there's no way for it to grab that and pull it out and stick it next to the audio head. So even though I can put it in this machine and hit play, and you can see it is turning, it will pull the tape through, and it will rewind the tape. But unfortunately, that would be the limit as to what it could do with it. By the way, if you happen to be into electronics and you're looking for a good tape preamplifier that runs on 12 to 13 volts, these little Kraco cassette to 8-track adapters have a very nice preamplifier, stereo preamplifier, built in. So just something to keep in mind. And my friends, that is going to wrap up this video about the Roberts 848X 8-track player from Mars. I hope you guys enjoyed watching it and hope you will share this video with a friend. Leave some comments below and click that like button. I really appreciate you watching. Hope you'll subscribe to the channel. And I appreciate all of you who are already subscribers and support the channel in so many ways. And we will see you next time.